All right, so I'm going to show you how to start a project in Photopea. I'm going to show you how to add an image to that project and how to paint the background in this video. So the first thing you're going to need to do is open up Photopea, and you can do that through the assignment or by typing photopea.com into your browser search bar. Once you've done that, you're going to click on the button that says New Project. Now, before we can do anything, we've got to title it. The title I want you to put in there is 23 for the year. I want you to put portraits and then do another underscore and put your first and last name. So I'm just going to put my last name in here. Put a 2. Actually, I'll do more an A. Now I'm going to go to DPI and I'm going to change that to 300 pixels per inch. And I'm going to go up to pixels and change this into inches. The width should be 8.5 and the height should be 11. That is a normal, actually, you know what? Sorry, in the assignment it says 9 and then for the width and then 12 for the height. That's a pretty standard size paper. So once I've got that, I'm going to click on create. And it brings me in just like before in the practice one. And now I've got to add my image. So if you haven't already, you need to go to where your image is in Google Classroom, and then you've got to download it. If it's not already downloaded to your computer, you're going to do it here through Google Classroom. You're going to click that download button. And once it's in there, you can go to, there we go. Go over to File and Open and Place. So when I click on Open in Place, I can now see all of the things that I have downloaded, including the picture of me. So you're using a photograph from your photo lighting projects. I am going to then resize this so that it fits in this little white box. And once it's in place, I'm going to go over to the top right and click on confirm, which is the little check mark. And then I need to go over to where it says, where it has the photograph. I need to right click it and click on rasterize. This will make it so that we can actually edit this photo. And I'm going to change the title by double clicking on the current title and changing it to photo. Now that I have that, I am going to use, I'm going to create a new layer. And this is going to be color background. I've made a new layer. I've changed the title to color background. And now I'm going to be getting ready to select my background so that I can color in it. Because remember, if I select an area, then it will only allow me to edit that area. So let's go ahead and select the photo layer and go over to where our magic wand tool is. And we're going to click and hold to quick selection. This might slow your computer down just a little bit. Now that I'm in this space, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So right now it's at 15. Now you can make the cursor larger by clicking on the little drop down arrow and changing the size. Another way you can make the cursor larger is by using the bracket, which is underneath the backspace button, the right bracket. Now that I have this, it's going to select all of the pixels that are similar. The pixels should be similar in value. They might be similar in color. And I'm going to click in areas that I want to select values that didn't quite work out in this original thing here. I'm going to make my cursor a little smaller by using the left bracket. And I'm going to select the areas that it didn't select in the first click. And then you have an issue. It'll select the whole thing sometimes. So you've got to tell it, no, I don't want all of that. So you can do that by clicking on this little subtract button. Or what you can do is you can hold down Alt, and if you look up here, when I hold down Alt, it toggles back and forth between them. So I'm going to hold down Alt. I'm going to click on this turtleneck here, and you'll notice that it will go, whoops, don't want any of that, and totally deselect the turtleneck. Hold down Alt. I'm going to select the face, and look, it erased whatever it was in the face. Hold down Alt again. I'm going to click on the flower. Whoops, too much. Control Z will undo. And I'm going to do it again, this time, and hold down Alt. It's really not wanting to omit the flower, I think. Hold down Alt. Alrighty, so it's a little bit of, you're kind of training it, training the computer, telling it what you like versus what you don't want it to select. And when you've got mostly everything selected, you can even zoom in if you're not certain. You have most of it selected. Oops. Then you can move on to the next part. Which is going to be clicking on the Refine Edge tool. I'm just going to make sure I got everything that I need. All right, so Refine Edge, that's where I am going to go in, and I'm going to kind of pick up some of this hair here that got cut out and make it look like I got most of the other stuff away. So if I click on Refine Edge, which is at the top here, it might take a minute to load. And now I'm in here, and what you can see is we've got one section that shows me the cutout, the layer that's selected, and then we've got another section that shows me the photograph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these three things, and I'm going to paint on what I want to keep versus what I want to eliminate. This gray one's really cool. So if, say, like in this area right here, most of this is okay. I'm going to click on the unknown part, and I'm going to drag over that. What you'll see is over here, it will go, oh, I think this is what they want me to select, right? Now you'll see that some of it is my head right here that is selected. So I need to go in with the black one, and I need to say, don't select this part. So I'm going to erase this part. And it's going to get rid of that part, and it'll refine the hair a little bit more. And then the same token, I can take the white one and say, do select this part. And then it'll go through, it'll analyze it and go, okay, I see what you want now. So if I go to this, I can go over this hair. It will analyze it and it'll go, oh, okay, I see the hair there. So I'm not going to select the hair. And then I can go in with the white here and I can see that it's kind of hazy right there. If I work alongside that, it will bring that back and it'll just have the hair selected. Look how nice and neat that is. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to play around with that a little bit, working on selecting the hair and deselecting areas that I don't want it to paint over. Okay, so it's pretty good. I'm going to do one more spot up here. To make sure I've got the top of the head. And see how nicely it did that part, and a little bit right here as well. Oops, didn't mean to go that far. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this. I think I might do just a tiny bit on this flower. Make sure I get some of those petals. All right. So I have what I want selected, and that's all of this stuff in the background. And now I need to go over here and I need to make sure it says selection. You could do a raster mask, that would work, but I'm going to do selection. When I press OK, now it's got everything selected that I want. And if I switch to if I zoom out, and I switch to the color background, now when I paint, which is the brush tool, and I use the colors that I want, so I'm going to use kind of a pinkish red. Then I can fill that background and it will only paint the background. It'll totally avoid the subject. So if we look at it, look at that. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. Now, if you do make a mistake and it paints into the face somehow, just remember that you're going to be repainting this whole subject anyways. So it's not that big of a deal. If you do something, so for deselecting, if I deselect right now, which you can do by going to select, deselect, or you can do Control D, then it will deselect, and then you might be like, oh no, I didn't finish putting a pattern in the background like it requires in the assignment. Then you can hide your photo. You can go to your magic wand tool and you can select the background. If you have stuff in the background already, then you can select the white space and do a reverse on it. It looks like it didn't quite select everything in the white space. So I could maybe use the selection tool to kind of grab a little bit more. It can be a little tricky sometimes to go back once you've done. Ooh. And then you can invert your selection. So if I go to layer, select inverse, now I have my background selected again. And then it's a good idea to remember that you can always go back in your history here and reselect the things that you had before. So if, as long as you haven't moved away from it too far, then you should always have access to it. Don't forget to play with the opacity of your brush, to play with different colors. I really want to see you um, manipulating the colors and choosing a color scheme of some sort. I don't want to see you just repainting it as it was, because those backgrounds were really boring. It was just a plain white background. Hopefully yours was plain white. You might have trouble selecting things if it wasn't plain white. And do some sort of fun pattern. Don't just go with, oh, I just have nice polka dots. Think, oh, what if I were to do a warm color scheme, and I did a really cool texture with my patterns that created this almost like stained glass effect on it. You also have different brushes in there, so don't be afraid to try out different brushes and experiment with your colors. Another thing to remember, oh, too far, one more, is that you can change to a soft brush, and that will give you a different effect too. So I can click in these spots and create almost like a value change in each of these little polka dots, create more depth, more visual interest. Just make it all around a beautiful picture with not too much effort, right? You don't need to put each color on its own layer unless you want to. So if I was like, I kind of want these colors to be on a separate layer so I can edit them separately from the way background color, then feel free to do so. And remember too that you can always use different selection tools to unite or subtract. So if I want to do squares, I can use this marquee selection tool to subtract and then draw around it. It's going to look a little funky, but then if I deselect, you'll see that these squares are still the original color. All right, so you are going to be playing around with these. You're going to create a nice pattern background, and then when you're done, you're going to save it. Make sure to save as a PSD file, and save it into a spot that you can find it. I would definitely save it to Google Classroom every day. You can even go, this one's more in A1. This one's day 2, day 3. But make sure you save it somewhere where you can find it. And then hopefully you won't be in a position where you have to start over from scratch. All right. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you learned something.